And a good Monday evening to everybody joining us for tonight's edition of Wave News Extra. We're starting off with this view thanks to our SkyTrack camera network from across the river out in Jeffersonville, and enjoying not just the lights of the Louisville downtown skyline, but I don't know anyone had a chance to step outside for that walk before the sun set, just enjoying some more of these much cooler temperatures. We're going to be discussing, more than just that, but just planning for this last full week of October with the storm tracking team. Meteorologist Ryan Hoke, by the way, going to be in with us when it comes to the night team working here at Wave News. We're going to break that down with him. For some of you folks joining in, the conversation over Hurricane Melissa might be something fascinating. That's going to be something we'll discuss with the storm tracking team a little later tonight for the news at 11. For now, we're holding things down in the Wave Now studio. Appreciate you. I'm Jose Sosaya with tonight's edition of you joining us on the live stream to unpack some of the day's top stories, a mix of, breaking news, updates, and other kinds of interesting stories that not necessarily driving the conversation, but perhaps of interest to a lot of you, sharing these things online, on social media, and just a general interest, that our team has been investigating and checking in on throughout the day. We're going to start with some of that news that we were, kind of breaking down just as far as updates were concerned heading into the afternoon. Some of them we'll say this is more in the general police investigations, court appearances, and crimes kinds of stories. So we're going to start with one involving a man accused of attacking and pushing his 5-year-old child down the stairs. If you're familiar from that story where the child died. Well, he was back in court this morning. It was very brief, lasted less than 3 minutes. The prosecution says they're still waiting to get finalized records from a pediatric protection specialist at Norton Children's, along with a final autopsy report for little Eli Rain. His father, LaRon Gardner, faces those murder charges, criminal abuse of a child charges, assault. The defense and the prosecution agreed to have another pretrial conference, and that one's not going to be until 2026. That's going to be scheduled for January 12th at 10:30. Moving on to some other updates, another man who was found incompetent to stand trial for a 2023 homicide in Clifton Heights. Well, he's been re-indicted in the case. Benjamin Strange, again appearing in court for his own arraignment today in a blue jumpsuit, accused of shooting and killing Sean Gray on Idlewild Drive back in August of 2023. He was found not competent to stand trial, sent to a facility to get treatment, and the charges were dismissed. But not too long ago, October 7th, Strange was re-indicted for murder and receiving stolen property. You're seeing some video we got from inside the courtroom today. A judge set his bond at $50,000 full cash, ordering him to continue to get treatment while in jail. He's going to be back in court a little earlier than Gardner. His next appearance coming up on December 11th. More updates tonight. We heard from Kentucky's junior senator, Republican Rand Paul, in town to visit an office site for BAE Systems. It's an office location off Rochester Drive, a company that makes weapon systems for the U.S. Navy. So of interest, perhaps, for armed services in the context of the ongoing government shutdown. Now, the meeting, unfortunately, was closed to the press. Senator Paul did come out to talk to reporters after the fact that he went on the tour. And part of his comments to the press saying that right now the federal government should reopen it sooner rather than later, Paul said, and saying that he thinks it could happen in a couple of different ways.
You can put them all together in one bill called a continuing resolution, or you could vote on them individually, 12 different components of government, one at a time. I do think that there is a compromise to be had. And what I've been suggesting is that President Trump announce a commission, 3 Republicans, 3 Democrats, to study the issue very quickly of healthcare premiums and come up with a solution in the next few weeks. Open the government back up for a month or two. And in that 2-month period, the commission will meet and we will come up with and try to figure out a bipartisan solution for the high insurance premiums.
Now in that session there, Senator Paul also saying he's in favor of making sure all essential government employees, as he delineated, military members, air traffic controllers are paid regardless of the shutdown. Currently, military members are being paid. Other workers like air traffic controllers are not. Pertaining to some other big stories, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, it's run out of money. A message posted on the Department of Agriculture's website today as far as administration leaders blaming the Democratic Party for voting down funding 112 times. So that was the post on the Ag Department's website. And the Post even then saying there will be no benefits issue November 1st. The USDA says it is not tapping into its contingency fund either. That's according to a memo obtained by some other reporting outlets, which also states are not going to be reimbursed if they use their own funds to pay for benefits. And as a result, roughly 42 million Americans will not receive critical food assistance. And the Salvation Army of Louisville says it is sounding the alarm over its own shortage of food donations coming to their pantry. They serve dozens of families at a given time, but they just don't have enough food to meet the new demand that exists. Too many families say they're apparently not making ends meet right now. And Salvation Army local leaders saying numerically the demand at the pantry is up 300% in recent weeks. Wave News reporter David Mattingly went to get a tour of the conditions of the low stockpile that the Salvation Army has right now.
Should these shelves be empty right now?
They should not. These shelves should be full. And not only should the shelves be full, but we should already have a staging of food boxes ready to go out.
24 hours before the Salvation Army opens its doors to its weekly food pantry, there isn't enough food to fill the shelves. The Salvation Army's Major Mark Hunter says months of rising food costs is taking a toll on Louisville families.
They're scared. They're continuing to see that it's not getting any better, and so they're worried, like most of us are. And so hopefully the community can come together, help us be prepared for whatever may come in the next weeks or months.
The Salvation Army has launched an emergency food campaign asking for monetary and food donations because families that come in Tuesday looking for pre-assembled boxes of 2 to 3 days worth of food might go home disappointed. And we find out the empty shelves we see in the distribution room only begin to tell the story.
So normally our overstock or our overflow would go into this area.
Major Hunter takes us downstairs to the Salvation Army's food storage area where we find stockpiles depleted and rooms where boxes of food should be stacked almost to the ceiling are empty.
And so normally these pallets would be head high. So they would be at least as high as I am.
There would be food up to here.
Food up to here normally, absolutely.
Hunter says it's a symptom of a spike in food insecurity that now has this 142-year-old source of community comfort scrambling to meet the challenge.
See, normally you can barely walk around down here, but now there's plenty of room. And quite frankly, we're concerned that we're not going to have the ability to meet the needs.
That was David Mattingly reporting on that story and details of how you can help or how to help if you can afford to do so. It is part of some of the information breakdown that David has on his story right now on wave3.com. A little extra excerpts from his conversation with Major Hunter saying, depending on how many people show up, they could be cutting back on their usual allotment of food they give to respective clients tomorrow. But the goal is to make sure everyone does go home with something, as the local Salvation Army put that. We have much more to break down for you tonight here on Wave News Extra. Part of that is a story that actually our Julia Richardson is putting together right now for this vote we wanted to keep tabs of down in Shepherdsville. Perhaps you'd heard recent discussion about this sort of proposal for a transition home in a part of Shepherdsville. Well, there was a proposal to sort of look at how the zoning ordinances might be recalibrated to make that happen. We do have an update as far as what is going to come next. Some police investigations looking for a hit and run suspect. Some interest when it comes to what French detectives have been able to uncover or identify suspects when it comes to that jewelry heist from the Louvre Museum. Much more to break down as we go through the rest of this hour on Wave News Extra. We're just going to take a quick commercial break and be right back. Hi there, folks. It is 8:16 on this Monday evening, October 27th. Appreciate you sticking around with us here on Wave News Extra to break down some more stories. The update we had for you had to do with perhaps something we knew was going to happen, and sent a reporter out to check in on this city council session in Shepherdsville. And our Logan Braun had gone to do the initial reporting and then to show us some of the friction that was going on among different parties as far as neighbors and city leaders were concerned to changing zoning rules. This was all surrounding a story about a local ministry group trying to build a transition home in Bullitt County. Mind you, in our reporting, we had learned that Bullitt County was the largest county in Kentucky to have yet built a homeless shelter or transitional housing service dedicated for that kind of work in particular. So what I'm going to play for you now is some video of where the proposed site would be. And this was our Logan Braun's earlier reporting, but just to put you, give you the frame of reference as to what the idea was and where this was going to be. So there you see the initial layout of the blueprint of the plan of Grace Village as far as that's concerned. So an update from our Julie Richardson, who was the reporter in the meeting today. So in essence, Mark 12 Ministries was allowed to give a presentation to kind of clarify what the idea for the project is. There seems to have been some pushback by some folks in the stands among the crowd, but taxpayers and citizens saying they did not want this built. It seems in the end, though, based on what our Julia Richardson was letting me know today. So as far as that's concerned, council ultimately actually withdrew the proposal to build Grace Village, but that doesn't mean that the plan is done in earnest. It means the project can actually go forward because the Planning Commission had already approved what was laid out. And so with the Planning Commission's blessing, so to speak, that's going to keep going. And so by abstaining, the Planning Commission support for approving this facility around 12 homes, and you kind of saw the layout there, that is going to stand. But much more to break down when we do have Julia in to walk us through her reporting tonight on Wave News at 11. So certainly something very interesting. We'll sort of break down and kind of get those different perspectives of, perhaps those who do favor the project, those who may be opposed to where exactly the vision to build this is going to be. Make sure to join us tonight for that original report on Wave News at 11. All right, heading over to Shively, where police say they need your help identifying a person of interest. They're saying this is about a hit and run involving a bike rider, a bicyclist. This was last Tuesday on 7th Street Road around 11 in the morning. And Shively police say the cyclist was badly hurt after being hit by a car. The driver left the scene. And the man you're seeing walking around right there is the person investigators are looking for. If you do know this person, you are asked to call Shively Police if you have anything that could help police officers find some of that evidence or the person they're actually looking for. All right, heading over to this court appearance. A Louisville man arrested in connection to a murder. Grand jury indicted 46-year-old Fragist Ford on 1 count of murder and 2 counts of possessing a handgun as a convicted felon. Back in May, officers say they went to Patton Court where they found Paul McMahon shot and killed. Well, today Ford asked for a public defender. The judge agreed to provide him one. His bond is set still at $100,000, and his next court date is going to be in December. That's going to be on December 5th. Jumping over to France, some new developments in a story that's kind of dominated a lot of online discussion, even now birthing documentaries about what it takes to do this kind of heist. But French police say now they have made some arrests in connection with what happened at the Louvre Museum in Paris. Some French media reporting 2 men were taken into custody on suspicion of organized theft and criminal conspiracy. Prosecutors in Paris say one of the men was arrested at an airport Saturday, trying to leave the country. Investigators say they're still working to find all the suspects they think are involved, along with actual stolen jewels that have an estimated value of $102 million. This was the story that we kind of started a lot of our afternoon coverage with tonight on Wave News. It was a deadly police shooting where we can break down the specifics of it, actually, where it was a man who was shot by police after officers say that he was the one pointing a gun at them. And this all went down as officers got the call to try to answer to what witnesses were reporting was already a previous shooting at a home on Ridgecrest Road. This is in the Newburgh neighborhood. We got some confirmations from the Jefferson County Coroner's Office. The man who police shot and he was killed was a 20-year-old man, Frank Mejia Aguilar. And we've also learned that the initial shooting victim and this 20-year-old Mejia Aguilar knew each other, even going so far as to say the victim's family saying that this man and her son were friends. What was supposed to be a night of celebration ended in tragedy. The family since identified the woman's name as Tiffany Reiner, that she was shot in the head after she got into an argument, allegedly, with Mejia Aguilar. And our reporter today, Fernando Garcia Francescini, went to the scene of the shooting to try and get the information that he could.
A chaotic morning for people living in the 5500 block of Ridgecrest Road.
643 Charlie, we got one suspect down, shot fired. 625 Baker, I got one female shot in the head.
We spoke to the family of that woman who was shot. Her son didn't want to go on camera, but he says it all happened while they celebrated his 20th birthday. He says there was a party at their house, and eventually one of his friends started arguing with his mother and then shot her in the head. We spoke to a neighbor, and he says this is a nice family who never had any issues with neighbors.
It's a young guy over there. He's a great kid, great kid, just trying to get through life. The mother, she's trying to get through life as well. It's a daughter, goes to school every day.
Police say when they showed up, they were approached in the street by a man pointing a gun at officers. LMPD says officers asked him to drop the gun, but the man wouldn't. Eventually, an officer fired their gun, hitting the man at least one time. We've now learned that man died at the hospital. This shooting comes just months after a teenager was shot and killed in the 5300 block of Ridgecrest Road. Neighbors now saying they don't want this to become the new norm.
I mean, all the way down to that stop sign, everybody knows each other. See all these police cars, like, dang, y'all, what's going on?
And that was our Fernando Garcia Francescini reporting right there. According to department policy, LMPD says it should release body cam video of the shooting within 10 business days. When that window does appear to request and make sure we get a copy of that body camera video, we'll make sure to publish what we can and share that with you on TV, on the broadcast, online, here on the stream, through multiple ways here on Wave News. We're going to take another break coming up after this brief pause. A revelation that many local DMVs across several U.S. states are also now selling folks' personal data. And so what the enterprise entails and how much of that is then being sold in these transactions. Some updates for drivers having to use I-264, Watterson, and the big project around the new VA hospital. Just some updates as we kind of still go about the rest of our week. An update from JCPS on them trying to figure out their budget issues and where the revenue task force is. And then also this new call for a special session in Indiana that might be for redistricting purposes. And of course, coming from the Capitol, Governor Braun's administration, and some response from local lawmakers in southern Indiana. We're going to take that brief break for more of those stories coming up on Wave News Extra. We'll be right back. A27 on this Monday night, October 27th. Here's the latest view. Not much traffic crossing the bridge there, but hey, it's time to hopefully wind down for the rest of the night, enjoying this view across the river in Jeffersonville from our SkyTrack camera network and observing the downtown skyline. Let's bring you back in here to the Wave Now studio for some more stories. And yes, the conversation, particularly for, in Kentucky and the different iterations of sometimes how long the line has been for folks to go to their local DMV offices and try to get their new real IDs, other, business matters and appointments they have to tend to, and just that in itself has created a long list of wait times, and appointments can get backed up to several months. Now, when it comes in general to all this, when you're buying a car or signing up for a driver's license, your personal information doesn't just go into a vault or just somewhere where it's siloed off. Departments of motor vehicles apparently around the country are selling your data to places like tow truck companies, to private detectives. This is under a 30-year-old federal law. Tonight, consumer investigator Rachel DePompa is uncovering the world of DMV data centers to find out what it is that's being bought, what's being sold, for how much money, and if there's a way that maybe you as a consumer or client can realistically opt out.
I do balloons and event decor. It's my way of bringing joy to people. I didn't always have that joy, right? And so I feel like it was like my outlet to bring it to others.
Sitting in front of a wispy wall of pink, Nikki knows more than most. There's always a story bursting behind every half smile.
I had an extremely traumatic childhood.
In adulthood, she says she's dealt with more trauma, including, she says, suspicions she's been stalked and had her devices hacked. She's reported her issues to police and believes she's sometimes been the target of a hired private investigator.
If you have the money to buy or hire an investigator or to buy my data, I feel like, there's like a price tag on my safety.
Depending on where you live, we've discovered private investigators, government agencies, car insurance companies, police, towing companies, auto dealers, and data brokers could have access to your personal information through the Department of Motor Vehicles. Your name, address, phone number, driver identification, all information you must give your state to get a driver's license or register a vehicle has been sold for millions all across this country. It's actually allowed because of a law with privacy in the name, the Driver's Privacy Protection Act, or DPPA. The federal law was passed in 1994 after the murder of actress Rebecca Schaeffer. She was shot and killed at her front door by an obsessed fan who got her address from a private investigator's use of California motor vehicle records.
This law's been around for a long time now.
James Lee is the president of the Identity Theft Resource Center.
There are organizations that have access to the information, and in every case, states sell that information.
While the act was intended to limit access to this data, it contains 14 exemptions, including allowing sales, ironically, to private investigators, employers for background screenings, and companies for debt collection or insurance. We contacted the DMVs from all 50 states to find out how much money they make from these records. In fiscal year 2024, these 23 states collected a total of at least $282 million. Many of the DMVs contend they don't sell information. They say they're allowed under the DPPA to charge a fee to cover the cost of maintaining the records. Rich Robertson is one of the people who gets access to those driving records.
I am subject to audit. The motor vehicles office can come in at any time and ask me why I ran that particular search.
He's been a private investigator in Arizona for 25 years now. He says the federal law is working. He uses DMV databases to help in prosecutions, work with victims, and protect children.
They want their child care center, little league coach. They want all these people backgrounded to make sure that their children are safe. Backgrounding means digging into your private information.
For people like Nikki from Texas, the idea any personal information can be sold is more than unsettling.
I think that's something that we as people should be able to have some control over.
That was consumer investigator Rachel DePompa with that story. Now, some states told the investigative team there that the money collected goes to funds to help road maintenance and maintaining the driving database itself. And you saw how they reached out to all 50 states, where only 3 state offices said that folks can actually opt out of having their information shared. Those are citizens in Delaware, in Wisconsin, and Wyoming. Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, not in that trio of being able to opt out of having that information specifically shared. All right, moving over to the world of horse racing for fans. We're just days away from the Breeders' Cup World Championships out in California. Post positions will be drawn tonight. Might have an update that we can share with you all a little later tonight on Wave News at 11. Unfortunately, one name we won't see at this year's Breeders' Cup is jockey Brian Hernandez Jr. He's still recovering after we reported. He had that nasty fall at Churchill Downs back in September, on September 21st. Hernandez was rushed to the hospital with 7 broken ribs, a collapsed lung, multiple other injuries. You see him there sitting in his hospital room chair. He does tell Wave News, though, that he's going to have to miss racing this weekend, but he hopes to return to the track at Churchill Downs in a couple weeks' time. Whatever the update is we do get from Hernandez and his team, we'll make sure to share some of that with you. Let's see, coming back over here. No update, or at least I was going to have an upgrade, but a graphic to share with you. But a heads up for anyone who's going to drive around the Watterson this week, just a general check-in with folks here watching in tonight on the stream in the studio. The blasting work is going to resume because of the widening project. Some roadblocks every weekday around 2 p.m. So heads up there for the rest of the week around 2 p.m. You know where this is, though. Crews are going to be blasting through rock to expand the Watterson near the new VA hospital off Brownsboro Road. The delays could last anywhere up to 20 minutes. Drivers, again, asked to be careful as they're coming through the area. If they want to avoid this, then consider taking a detour, an alternate route. The highway improvement project itself is expected to be done in the fall of 2027. JCPS is talking about ways of trying to balance the district's budget. The district's Revenue Advisory Task Force having a special meeting at Van Hoos. Whatever comes of this, we do have also our newsroom checking in on any big takeaways or action items moving forward. But this all has to do with the ongoing effort to minimize the $188 million budget deficit that's on track for next school year. The district has plans to cut $132 million of that major amount, that dollar figure already. As far as, again, action items are concerned, we'll try to share those updates and confirmations with you tonight on Wave News at 11. Crossing over the river to Indiana, where the General Assembly apparently is going to be back at the State House next week for a special session. Governor Mike Braun called on state lawmakers to take a look at congressional maps across Indiana. Braun saying that they could target the only 2 districts held by Democrats. And while this likely wouldn't change the party in majority power, officials in southern Indiana are arguing this is about much more than the maps. Wave News reporter Logan Perrone tells us how this would impact Hoosiers on this short and long-term scale.
When the democratic process rolls around next November, the already red state of Indiana could lose its small bits of blue. On Monday, Governor Mike Braun called state lawmakers back to session with the goal of redrawing the congressional lines, something done just 4 years ago.
There is no harm, being done by these maps the way they are.
It's more work for state lawmakers like Wendy Dan-Chesser. She says the decision to focus on redistricting is a distraction from issues Hoosiers are actually facing.
The administration should have enough going on that it shouldn't be distracting itself with redistricting. It's got problems to fix. Yet here we are being pulled into this game.
Indiana joins 3 other states, Texas, Missouri, and North Carolina, that have already redrawn their maps to increase the number of Republicans in Congress. California Democrats responded with new maps favoring more Democrats, with other states expected to do the same. In a statement, Governor Mike Braun said, in part, "I am calling a special legislative session to protect Hoosiers from efforts in other states that seek to diminish their voice in Washington and ensure that representation in Congress is fair." Other Democratic leaders in Washington say the opposite.
Poll after poll has shown that Hoosiers don't want this. Hoosier lawmakers answer to Hoosiers, not Donald Trump.
The new session begins on November 3rd, which could cost taxpayers tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Representative Dan-Chesser says changing the map mid-decade could have a much higher price.
Some are very afraid, myself included, that democracy is on the line here. And so if cheating becomes the norm, what do we have left?
And that was our Logan Perrone reporting. And you can take a look if you go to his full report on wave3.com, and you can compare maps as far as the current congressional maps and what the proposal might be, depending on how the special session plays out. But in essence, Indiana 9, which covers parts of our communities, there's a map that Indiana House Democrats say has been circulating and state Republicans are considering. Voters in Clarksville and Jeffersonville, for example, will be put in a district with voters that reach as far north as Indianapolis. Wave News did reach out to the office of Congresswoman Erin Houchin. I'm just waiting for a response on any comment of what the special session or comment on the implication of having the special session is concerned. We're waiting for a comment on that. All right, almost 8:39 on this Monday night. We're going to be back with our last round of stories to wind down the stream, live stream, going through some of the stories we want to share with you here in the Wave Now studio. We're going to take that brief break. Be right back.
Those fearless pilots bringing thrills to a new generation.
There we go. A little bit of narration there. Thrill enthusiasts, there's a new coaster coming to Kentucky Kingdom. It's going to be called the Flying Fox. The park calling it a family-friendly coaster set to debut next year. It's going to be a 63-second ride reaching 37 miles an hour, custom designed as a nod to celebrate Kentucky's own heritage with agriculture. It's going to be a $14 million coaster project. It's going to be the park's sixth most of any other theme park within the Commonwealth, and it's going to be Kentucky Kingdom's first new coaster since the year 2019. All right, let's bring you into some other stories going on. The Louisville Orchestra going to help families get into the Halloween spirit by screening a Disney 90s classic with some live music. It's going to be Hocus Pocus in concert at Whitney Hall. The 1993 film is going to be shown on a big screen while the orchestra performs John Debney's score live. The orchestra is also going to host a free trick-or-treat event in the lobby and the surrounding areas right by Whitney Hall before each performance. The concert, today's the 27th, so the concert is going to happen October 29th and 30th, so this Wednesday and Thursday. Doors open up at 6, and the movie concert itself begins at 7:30. Bringing you back here into the studio for tonight's Wave News Extra, the Brain Injury Alliance of Kentucky is going to host their 23rd annual Brain Ball this November. It's to raise money, awareness for individuals whose lives have been affected by brain injuries. Earlier today, we welcomed in NBC horse racing analyst Donna Brothers on Wave News Midday, and she talked to our Olivia Russell about the importance of hosting this event and the impact that the fundraising does for so many people.
So it gives everybody a chance to pull out those hats that they wore to the Derby once.
Yeah, right. We're going to actually rewear it
once. Yeah, it gives you another chance to wear that hat again. But it's all for a good cause. Every year we have a Mary Varga award recipient, and Mary chooses that person. And it's somebody who's gone through struggles and stripes with some sort of a brain injury. And, you know, they're on their way back. Last year, our recipient was Officer Nick Wilt. And so every year it's a really good event, a great cause, and it's always fun.
This year's Brain Ball is going to be on November 21st at the Olmsted on Frankfort Avenue. So certainly we'll keep tabs on everything leading up to it. And on the night of the Brain Ball, letting you know what is going on and who's being honored and recognized. Our last story of the night, folks, is actually in keeping with that sense of the horse racing community. A champion of Churchill Downs honored with his own Hometown Heroes banner a little earlier today, John Asher. And he died unexpectedly at the age of 62 back in 2018. So it's been that much time since. But he spent more than 2 decades working at the racetrack. And today, Wave News anchor Brian Schlonsky lets us know how many people say that to them, John Asher is irreplaceable.
One of the long-standing criteria going back to Muhammad Ali, who was our first hometown hero, is the fact that, you know, we look for people that gives their time, their talent.
Muhammad Ali, Justin Thomas, Pat Day. The list of notable Louisvillians who've been honored by a Hometown Heroes banner is impressive. Monday, you could officially add John Asher to that inspiring club.
If he were here, he would definitely come up with 10 other people he would say deserved it more than he did.
John's wife, Dee, speaking on behalf of her late husband at Presentation Academy, where the banner now hangs. The school, she says, means so much to the Asher family.
John's dedication, love, and support for this organization began in 1994 when our oldest daughter, Heather, stepped through those iconic doors for the first time as a freshman.
The great historic building that we have here. was also designed by the same architect that designed those world famous twin spires.
Asher's love and dedication extending to another well-known organization rooted in Louisville culture. He joined Churchill Downs in 1997, working as the track's vice president of communications. His knowledge of horse racing, extraordinary.
In a sport that is dominated by personalities and special people, he is one of the most special.
Working by John's side for a decade, another communications pro, Darren Rogers. Rogers says, if you thought Asher's appreciation for the track runs deep, you should have known how he felt about our city.
And we were joined at the hip. And John just absolutely loved Churchill Downs, as you all know. But he loved his hometown even more.
All right, thanks to Brian Schlonsky for that breakdown and profile of John Asher, now in the company of the other hometown heroes. The program, if you remember, started in 2002. If you ever felt like submitting someone who you felt was deserving, you could visit the website, the Greater Louisville Pride Foundation, to make the case and lobby for that special someone yourself. A reminder, folks, all of our top stories, breaking news, news and stories of any kind and every which kind, all updated as soon as we get them into our homepage here, wave3.com. Check out on the news tab the different kinds of news, our troubleshooters investigations, our Wave Originals documentaries, the breakdown from the storm tracking team, the sports team, all there at your disposal. The latest and greatest information right there, and more than just that on the website. We share all of that on our social media. We put that up on our broadcast on the Wave Now streaming app on your smart TV as well. Well, we appreciate your time. Make sure to join us for tonight's newscast, the forecast coming in from our meteorologist, Ryan Hoke. Going to be talking again, as I said at the top of the hour, cooler temperatures, kind of braving a lot of the rain today. How much longer that's going to stick around, hopefully in time for some Halloween fun on Friday. Our eyes also on what could be a pretty historic storm for parts of the Caribbean with Hurricane Melissa. Lots to discuss and break down. I hope you join us tonight around 11 o'clock. I'm Jose Sosaya here in the Wave Now studio, appreciating your time. We'll be back tomorrow night at 8:05.